I just checked, and on the website, on all the pages, at the top there's the menu bar, and under other stuff, there Ho'oponopono is there, and Hawkins Scale of Consciousness is also there now. So you can find that if you want to go back and review it. And the Ho'oponopono link has like 6 or 7 different YouTubes that you can see if you want to see what this guy is really all about. And the guy that wrote Zero Limit is named Joe Vitale. And 2 more things of logistical nature. First of all, I got a call this week about supply, and I wanted to let you all know that there will be 1 or more classes on supply coming up in the next 2 or 3 weeks. And there will be 1 or more classes on healing or revealing coming up in the next 2 or 3 weeks. I just don't know what we're going to do next week. I haven't been focused on anything yet. But they're there, so you can look forward to them. And I also received a question by email, which we'll pick up in the class in a few minutes. And that's a great idea. Joel used to ask people to write questions out and put them on his desk, and he would answer them. And the equivalent here is to send me an email. So on the homepage for the workshop, I put a link there. Submit a question if you wish. And there's a submit button. If you just punch that and type in your question, it'll send it to me, and we can take up any questions there. And if you wish to remain anonymous, you can say so. So enough about all of that. Now, any questions about the Ho'oponopono, or comments on it, or I'd love any kind of feedback you wanted to give me on that.
Hi, Lee, it's Edie. I have a question regarding that.
Please. Thanks.
I understand. It's funny, just when you were talking about the Ho'oponopono, I was very deeply moved. So much that I actually had to cry.
Yeah.
Because I can feel what I'm feeling is a lot of anger and rage over being wrongly judged or wrongly accused, which I'm sure whoever was there had that sense as well, you know, that's not who I am. Don't you understand, you know? And I'm really excited about trying this cleaning work. I understand I'm sorry, please forgive me. And I do understand the thank you part of the process. My question is on the I love you. Now, in this whole process, I mean, I guess it would take, you can't just rush through it. It's kind of come through in stages, from what I understand, just to, you know, really get clear and realize. Mm-hmm. And I'm wondering if the I love you is when you are free of that judgment. Is that what that is? I always get complicated, get confused over the word love.
Yeah, I hear you. The I love you, he didn't say, and so anything you hear from me is how I use it. Yeah, I think if you start up this practice, you will be led to the correct interpretation of all these words. But I use I love you in the moment, loving the kid or the still human aspect of me that has to believe all this stuff, that still believes all this stuff that I haven't previously cleansed, and loving the presence if it does some cleansing, and loving the whole world. My answer is always, if you're going to screw up on the side of love. So I pretty much just love everything involved in the case, the problem, the perpetrator, everything, you know, including myself and God. And that's what it means to me at the end of it, for what, and the I love you self for whatever cleansing has happened today, you know, for however much progress we made today. And especially the I love you to your internal self that has had to operate under this false chub belief for so many lifetimes, you know. Everybody can use a little love. Now we're back to Matt Kahn's "Whatever Arises, Love That." So I think we'll just see what you're led to love. Are you there?
I am.
Oh, okay.
It's really sitting in with me. Thank you.
Good. Yeah, that moved me to tears too when I was talking about that Ho'oponopono. That is so huge to me, and you probably felt that I was moved to tears as well. To me, this whole process is so huge that I think we're just barely seeing the surface of it, you know?
Yes, that's exactly how I feel.
Yeah, I think we're just scratching the surface.
Thanks, Lee.
Thank you.
Hello?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, it's the first time I'm doing this, so are you there?
Yes, we are. Please, speak up.
Okay, no, I'm not muting here. Yeah, I really love what you said there. I absolutely love that. And I do have an example of something that came up, and it didn't hit me that it might be an example of this, so you were talking today. And I was in an Alcoholics Anonymous women's meeting, and there was a person, and I just couldn't help reading her script. And I was not sensitive to her feelings, and she was afraid because the air conditioning wasn't working in a room, and she was opening the windows, and I thought she was letting the hot air in, and I just made some kind of comment, and she just screamed at me, I'm going to die, I have to have it. And then after that, it was kind of tense between us, but I really looked across the room at her week after week, and I saw that she was sitting right by the door, and I just felt compassion, and I thought, she's just a scared kid. And I did apologize. I called her and said, I'm sorry for if you felt like I was forcing you into something that made you uncomfortable, but she didn't talk back. She wouldn't talk to me after that or anything for a long time, but Christmas time came, and we were at the same party, and we went up to at this box. She said, I can't see at this box which one of these have nuts in them. I'm allergic. And I said, oh my goodness. So we went through each one of them, and I thought she was taking the box home. I said, well, you don't want this, you don't want that. And it just felt like we were just healed, and we were just friends, and I was able to look at her like she was a little kid across the room at that meeting. And then last week she threw a party for me for my birthday. So it's like we came full circle from me reading her script. She's had all these surgeries, and I'm saying, why did that woman have to have all these surgeries? And I realized it was just Chubb. And so I absolutely love everything that you shared here, and I do believe in it. And I think that was just my one example of something that came full circle, that we were able to I was able to turn it around and look at her differently, I guess.
Yep.
And I just wanted to share that.
Thank you. That's a beautiful example. When we stop coming from kid, which is the script reader, and start coming from spiritual adult, which is the compassionate one, they must change. And their reaction to us changes. I mean, there's only one mind, so she knew you were loving her instead of afraid of her or whatever. So, all these there's such ample demonstration of the truth of all of this teaching, but we tend to not see it. But thank you for that. You're exactly right. That's beautiful.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Hey, Lee, it's Karen.
Hey, Karen.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you doing?
Good. I'm so glad we're bringing up this material. I actually use that quite a bit when I come across somebody that, you say, how are you? And they get into this laundry list of ailments they have with them, and, just trying not to see it. But when you said that using it when I see anyone or anything like that, that really made a lot of sense. So thanks for sharing that. I like that.
Yeah.
In that book, though, because when you brought it up, I that was probably one of the first books that Anne gave me when starting this work. And in there, he writes in that email that he used it three times a day for 3 years, and how he put it was "thank you," "I love you," the piece of "I," and then there's a Hawaiian word that I'm not even going to try to say, but the translation is recognition of forgiveness.
Mm-hmm.
So, I really like that. One thing I wanted to bring to the class, and it was kind of weird it happened this week, is my son decided that he needed to get the frisbee off the roof of the garage that's been up there for like 6 or 7 months. And he fell on that filing cabinet that I shared about that me and my 16-year-old beat the crap out of. And he came in, and it was really weird because I could see the cut on his leg, but there was no appearance of blood or anything. And I just stayed frozen for a minute, and then I had another son sitting there going, "Mom, we need to go to the emergency room." And I was like, yeah, right. And Liam, it was the weirdest thing because he was in the back seat. I never grabbed a towel or a rag for him, and there's not one drop of blood in my back seat. And he was looking at me on the way to the ER going, "Mom, it doesn't hurt." And I'm like, "I know." And I wasn't even aware of where I was going. The other son was like, "Mom, you've got to make a left at the light." And every once in a while I'd be like, "Oh, yeah, you're right." And I would, listen to his instructions, and it was just a weird experience. And when we were there and they were putting the stitches in, I didn't know anything else to do, but we dropped, and I had him look in my eyes. I said, "Do you trust me?" He's like, "Yes." And we just went into that awareness exercise. Mm-hmm. And everything, I can't really even tell you what happened there. Mm-hmm. And it still freaks me out because today I was on my way over to Ann's, and I still looked in the back seat, and there's not one drop of blood. And when we arrived at that emergency room, the lady looked at me and she's like, "Here's a towel." I never saw it, and but I did see the cut though, so it doesn't make sense to me.
Doesn't need to make sense.
Okay.
Sounds like you were in a pretty good consciousness.
I see what you're saying, though. I'm trying to make sense of it, and it doesn't need to.
Yeah.
I heard that. Thank you.
That was your experience, and or at a higher level, that was God experiencing itself through and as you and as Him, and that's what you saw.
Okay. But my mind's trying to make sense of it, and it's not going to.
Right.
Gotcha.
There is no hope of understanding God or spirituality. There is a hope of developing a practice that results in our having a better experience of God and spirituality, but there's no hope of understanding it because the tool we're using to understand it is a very small piece of it. My brain is such a tiny little bit of God that how could it possibly understand God? So there's no hope of having understanding, but there is hope of developing practices that result in an experience, and we can experience God. We just can't put it into words or understand. It's the rational mind that's limited, not our experiencing faculty, because our experience is our awareness, and our awareness is part of God. So we can experience all of God and sit in bliss in that experience. We just can't figure it out.
Thanks, Lynn. I'm glad I brought it up, because I wouldn't bring it up to anybody else. I think I'm crazy.
That's an entrance requirement if you're in this group.
All right, thank you.
You bet. I'm going to do this question that was sent to me now, just because it would be a shame to thank this person for sending me an email and starting this email process without doing it. She says, I have a question for Sunday class discussion if you feel moved to discuss. How to discern God consciousness goodness as different from human goodness? I think that's a great question, because evil we know is God, is human, is Chubb, but when there's good we don't know whether it's God good or human good, because humans can be very good, and we keep saying that if there were no Chubb, if there were no conditioning at all, everything would be good. So how do you discern between the two? She says, I sometimes now feel as I move out of good and evil of human consciousness, it's not sometimes easy to ascertain what is goodness of God as compared to human good. And yeah, that's true. And if it changes, then you know it's human, because God doesn't change. If the good goes away, then it was human. But in the moment when you're experiencing good, I don't know that there is a surefire way, except one. Sometimes I just absolutely know that this is God. I mean, it's just a feeling, but it's like if something's really good and you're feeling the presence, then that's God good. But if you're not feeling anything about it and it's really good, then it could be either, and it doesn't seem like it really matters much. It's not like we have to avoid human good, because it's the other end of the human good evil stick. The fact that you're enjoying some good and it turns out to have been a human good does not mean you're moving back into the human stick of good and evil. I guess I think it doesn't really matter what kind of good it is. The important thing is, Joel brings up, and he often talks in his tapes about we not only have to give up evil, but we have to give up good. And what he means is any dependency on good other than God. And he would say also, I just heard, any dependency on good from God. We can't have a dependency on good from God. We have to have the dependency on God, which manifests as good. Part of the healing class and everything else, all the other work, is that if we have an idea of what good should look like, then we're blocking, because that may not be the way in which God would express itself as good here. So we can't blueprint good or define what it needs to look like, and we can't be dependent on any good form. But we can certainly enjoy all forms of good without concern, I think, as to whether they're God source or Chubb source. That's where I'm at on that right now. If you want to jump in and ask, take this further, fine. Otherwise, thank you for the question. Does that make sense to people?
I was going to ask you to say more about evil is chub. You said evil is chub.
Yes.
So everything that people call evil.
All evil is a incorrect seeing of a God form which is good. And the only reason that sees it as evil is because I'm saying that the distorted pair of glasses. The only reason it's seen as evil is because of a Chubb belief in evil in that situation. And here's a case where we need to do some cleansing because we're able to see evil, and there can't be evil there. I think he said in this morning's tape, one of the important healing principles is that whatever it is you're healing, you do not ascribe that to the person that asked for the healing. If somebody got the flu, you don't say they have the flu. You say Chubb is finding a way to express flu there. And, oh, this is good, because and all that guy needs to do is cleanse his glasses. He needs to do a cleansing. He needs to clean his glasses up so that he doesn't see the flu form. Because the form he actually is the God form. And it's just the Chubb introduction of beliefs in flu that has introduced the appearance of flu where the Chubb form is. Do y'all get the... Can you visualize the thing about standing in front of a mirror? And the mirror, if there's nothing between you and the mirror, then the mirror will reflect you quite well. But if there's anything else in between there, like false beliefs or judgments or a fog or distorted glasses or rose-colored glasses or dark glasses, or if there's anything between you and the mirror, the mirror will be distorted. Now, what is reflecting is still true, and if the glasses were fixed, the image would clean up. And it wouldn't be that the image cleaned up, my perception of the image would clean up. So, if you see flu on a person, it's because Chubb believes in flu, and believes there's flu epidemic going around, and is seeing flu onto people. Is finding people who are available to believe in flu, and some 30 to 40% of them believe in flu, and start seeing it. And it's just that simple, and it has nothing to do with the individual that's exhibiting the flu. And this is a place where you should cleanse. I'm sorry, notice, not I'm sorry you have flu. I'm sorry, I'm still capable of seeing flu. Would be my response to that. I'm sorry, I'm still capable of seeing flu. Please forgive me. Yeah. My consciousness that not only is seeing flu tuned into Chubb, but is also radiating flu back out. Oh, I see flu, and adding to the problem. So here's where we cleanse.
And you could insert really any word, whether it's selfishness or addiction.
Any word.
Yeah.
Or for flu. Any word. Anything that we call error. That Joel calls error, Disease, death, lack, limitation. Joel would say sin, by which he means moral delinquency, but insanity, criminal insanity. Anything.
Right.
You see that isn't godlike is Chubb reflecting itself on that person that you see it. The criminally insane person was not criminally insane, that's God. But God ignorant enough to be open to tuning into the Chubb vibration of criminally insane, because that's the level of consciousness that God individual is exhibiting at that point, and I need to clean it up. I need to not see criminally insane there. I need to not see criminally insane anywhere. I need to know that there is no such thing as criminally insane.
It's like a full-time job.
It is, absolutely.
How do you have time to do anything else?
You do it while you're doing everything else. Everything else presents itself as error and not error. And it doesn't need to be a sit-down session that you do by yourself, but I mean, that takes 3 seconds. I'm sorry, just to quiet to myself. I'm sorry, I'm still, yeah. My reaction would be, oh, look, I can still see flu. I'm sorry. Please forgive me.
Is that within yourself? If you see something within yourself, like sickness or whatever word you might insert, or is it out there?
Nothing's out there.
Or I mean, someone else, the appearance of someone else.
That's a good question. Here's a case where if I'm seeing you having flu, what's going on here is that you're seeing yourself as having flu. And since there's only one mind, I'm seeing that. But if I were truly clear, and Jesus saw lepers, okay, so don't beat yourself up too much. Jesus saw lepers, but Jesus knew the truth and went up there and healed the leper. And if I had the altitude, then I would dissolve the appearance of flu, the appearance that looked like flu, and we would see more of the God being expressed there. But, what you see of me, well, everybody here sees something different of me, but, we're starting with what I see. I have, nobody here is seeing a 40-year-old or a 20-year-old or a 12-year-old. We're all seeing whatever age I think I'm at, and we're all seeing, whatever things I'm believing. So if I see a person with flu, that means that person is, or a person who's criminally insane, it means that person is ignorant enough still to be susceptible to the criminally insane vibe of Chubb. And I'm not yet too high to see it. Or there would be an instantaneous healing and I would never see it, but that's not going to happen. But I certainly am perhaps high enough that I can sit down and close my eyes and correct myself, cleanse myself. I'm sorry I see that. And please forgive me for being able to see it, and please forgive Chubb. And I would do some cleansing there because it certainly is indicating that I'm not seeing nothing but God.
There's all these kind of middle layers, right? Like
Infinitely, buddy.
Infinitely. Because if somebody came to me and they said, I'm struggling with addiction, I would probably share with them, my experience in AA and recommend that they find a community.
Absolutely.
And if they had, what I notice is, so I will be very interested in holistic medicines, but very against traditional medicines. And I will create all these layers of, it's less conscious, you know what I mean? I create all these stories and separation around that.
Sure.
And I could just notice that.
Yeah, and you have to do it. I mean, Ram Dass says, years ago I read it, he says that if a beggar comes to your door and asks for food, you don't bless him for the fast he's on. You give him a sandwich,
Yeah.
You Joel says, give milk to the babes and meat to the adults. So if a person comes to an addiction problem, you do not say, there's no such thing. You're God, and you can't be addicted because God does, you send them to AA, and the point is to begin the process of raising their consciousness to the consciousness where he no longer sees addiction. And that's what happens in AA, is we get lifted high enough that we no longer see ourselves as addicted.
But in terms of like the conscious field, the field you were talking about, and like, I'm just naturally going to be interested to connect with people that are interested in particular healing modalities and not necessarily interested in other.
Right. You resonate with them.
I resonate with them.
Yeah.
And I don't resonate with the other ones.
That's right. Mm-hmm.
Which is fine, right?
Absolutely.
Completely fine.
Absolutely.
As long as I don't go into judgment.
Right.
Or like superiority.
Yeah, you don't have them wrong. That's where they're at. This is where you're at. You're at two different vibrational levels, and you don't really know which is higher for sure.
Right.
I mean, you're pretty convinced that the holistic one is a higher vibration, and most people would concur with that, but it doesn't matter. You know, the fact is they're operating at their level, and you're operating at your level, and God's using them to do that work, and God's using you to do this work, and it's all fine.
And it would be the same as someone who wants to talk to you about all the time about their problems, but they don't actually want to do anything about them. Mm-hmm. Or they don't want to take 100% responsibility. Mm-hmm. That whatever's happening in their life is a reflection of their consciousness. Mm-hmm. And in which case, you're not going to resonate with them.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And probably not going to want to engage.
Right. Quite possible. I have told sponsees, you know, when they come back with the same problem, I say, well, did you try what I suggested to you last time?
Right.
And if they say no, I say, well, it's still my best advice. Try it and come back to me when you have. You know, because I look at it as I look at sponsorship as somebody has come to you because they want what you have. And your job is strictly to show them what you have and how you got it. And if you got what you have holistically, well, they're attracted to it, and so they should be informed about holistic means, or others by a different means. It's all working, and we're all resonating at the right places. And
so my grandma is in a convalescent hospital. Mm-hmm. It's a really good place to practice.
Absolutely. That's not who she is. That's Chubb.
Right.
That's all. She's and she may well, so to speak, die there.
Right.
And that's fine. That's her level of consciousness at this time. She is still like 7 billion others tuned into the Chubb beliefs about age and deterioration. Yeah, that's just another person, like almost everybody in the entire world, who's susceptible to the Chubb belief that with age comes degeneration and et cetera, you know, that age is a killer. It's not true, but certainly 7 billion out of the 7 point whatever billion look like you're demonstrating that it is true, and so that's a level of ignorance that needs to be done on a more global scale.
And then, you know, just kind of bringing in the whole idea from the Dream On book about just over-identification with the body-mind in general.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's the whole problem. The whole problem is thinking that you're material and separate from God. When Joel says believing in good and evil, that's what he really means. The problem is, I believe I am this body-mind mechanism separate from God. And if I'm believing that, then there is no God in my life. Or better said, to the extent that I believe that, there is no God in my life. Because to the extent I believe that, I am not available to realize the presence of God. It's my belief. And that's the whole work. That's what dying daily is about and all that. The whole work is dying to the belief that I have a body, that I am a body, and have a mind, and it's material and has an existence separate and apart from God. See, that's the whole thing, is we're absolutely conditioned to believe that chair is out there somewhere, that there's a chair out there. And no, there's a form in consciousness, God, that chair is the way I'm seeing some form of God, but it's a spiritual form, not a material form. It's certainly not made out of plastic. It's a spiritual form, and if I'm looking at that as an example of God's grace, then I'm in a good place. And if I'm looking at it as a chair and I need more of them, then I'm not in such a good place, you know. That's what he means by, you don't blueprint what you want for good. You don't want good, you want God. You don't want health, you want God. You don't want supply, you want God. Because when there's God, then fulfillment will become apparent, and you have no idea what that's going to look like.
I can play with substituting.
Lee, it's Charlene here.
Hi, Charlene.
I don't know if, I'm not sure who is speaking, but I don't know if she's finished yet or not.
Yeah, go ahead.
I think this has brought something up for me as I'm hearing what you're mentioning, and I'm so glad you're talking about the Ho'oponopono.
Isn't that wonderful?
Yeah. I feel I am meeting several opportunities to see where my level of consciousness is. A dear friend has just been diagnosed with ALS, and another one with 2 lung stage 4 cancer. And I'm listening to this and doing some of the work, eating daily and each day, and the classes that you've been having, and I can really feel a tug. Like I really can tie in with what you said as Chubb, and that's a Chubb belief, and like the person aging is a belief that age comes with disease. What I'm seeing is that it just, when you say it's got lots of strings to it, I think the one is being asked for $400,000 for treatment, and the other is losing speech and unable to swallow, unable to chew. So looking at air and food as, or oxygen and food as how to exist. So to me, it takes it to a level, like, I don't know if that's me needing to see this at that level, so that I don't know how to put it into practical living when I'm talking with them, when I'm visiting with them, that I'm not projecting onto them my ability to see them as being disease conditions. I don't know if that's a clear enough question.
Yeah,
but,
it is. That's always the issue. Here I am looking at it. I'm looking at a woman with ALS. That's what I see. Robert Adams would smile and say, "That's what you see." Okay? And what we see is a woman who has ALS painted on her by Chubb, because of her age and because of her level of consciousness and because of her availability to it. And the best I can usually do in a situation like this is know the truth about it. Now, I would know who she is, and although I wouldn't see it, I would see a woman with ALS, but I would know who she is. I would remind myself, I would cleanse myself. I would do the cleansing. Every time the thought that she had ALS came up, I would do a cleansing. And but what I would remember is the truth about that situation is that she's an expression of God, perfect and holistic and harmonious, and that we're looking at a Chubb belief painted on her. And then get quiet and but she hasn't called on you as a teacher, so what what you relate to her is entirely dictated by the circumstance and the situation, and how much you can, that I have no way of knowing of what should be happening there. What sort of support you can give her and stuff like that, and.
So the support on the human level, comes in different forms in the way of driving her or socializing with her or, whatever, support.
For sure, all of that, For sure, all of the love and compassion that you have time can bring to bear. And also, internally, the cleansing. Reminding yourself of the truth about the situation, which may raise her to where the ALS is less intense or even disappears. Joel would heal it.
Yeah. Well, I think that's the biggest piece I'm getting this time around is that I'm the one that's lacking. And the work is right there for me to do.
Yep. You're seeing it.
I've been looking out and then internalizing feelings, and they are self-centered feelings, like with victim or no supply or self-centeredness, I call it. Mm-hmm. But this can happen to me, that kind of thing. So
the important thing to do is, I'm the one. I'm seeing her as having ALS, okay? But I'm not really. Am I seeing her as having ALS, or am I seeing her as an expression of God, which believes it is having the experience of ALS? Okay, and in one case, I'm adding to the problem. In the other case, I'm adding to the solution. I'm healing. I'm adding to, tending to heal or reveal the truth. When I'm looking at her and seeing the symptoms of ALS, I'm saying I'm seeing Chubb reflected in her, who is the perfect creature of God, then it's an entirely different experience that I have and that she'll have, because there's only one mind, than if I looked at her and said, oh God, it's too bad she's got ALS, I need to help her.
Exactly.
Do you get that?
Yeah.
Do you get that distinction?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm really getting that better in the sense of how to go forward each day, not just the theory.
But so you know the truth within yourself, and you see the truth within yourself to the extent that you can, regardless of what the appearance is, and you do for her what is needed in the moment. Whatever that looks like. And it might look like a book on spiritual healing, or it might look like taking her to the store. I don't know.
Yeah. Thank you, Lee.
Thank you. Great question. This is the kind of work that what we're talking about today is live in the infinite way. And that's why this class is called Only God Is, or Live in the Infinite Way by practicing the principles of the infinite way. We're talking about living the infinite way. In spite of appearance, seeing the truth. We're seeing is a different word than eyeballing.
And so what Barbara noticed, this is Joanne, so what Barbara noticed at the end of Joel's life is that he was giving people this very high truth, but they couldn't hear him. Mm-hmm. And so then she spent 30 years teaching kid work and script work and rest, exercise, nutrition, and it's that middle ground, right?
To the people that were at that level, yes, absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely.
And if 98.9% of the people are in Chubb and believing it and judging based on appearances, including me, a lot of the time, then it feels like you're doing that. I mean, you can be doing your own clearing work, but in the content of your conversation with people,
right?
You're talking with them about Katie work, and you're talking with them about maybe rest, exercise, and nutrition, and
Yep. absolutely, yes, everything you said. That's the way it looks.
Okay.
You're at whatever level you're at, and they're at whatever level they're at, and you bring as much love and compassion and understanding and wisdom as you can to the situation. But remembering always that what's going to flip it back around. God is expressing itself as you too, and you can see yourself as an instrument that God is using to teach the addicted person about Alcoholics Anonymous as part of its process of really revealing more and more of itself. So while sending them to AA and taking them through the steps sounds like a material thing to do, it's not at all. It's God as you bringing to them a level of understanding which is part of the omni activity. The only activity of God is revealing more of itself to itself through itself as each individual case of itself. And so here you are, part of that process. You're helping lift this person into a higher level of consciousness. And what you do is, because you're at your level and that person's at their level, and God is taking full advantage of everybody at every level and raising the level of the consciousness of the universe, item by item.
Yeah, although probably I would say go to AA, you'll probably get sober. Just don't listen to everything they say about doctors and because there's like so many other areas where there's all this other stuff that I feel like is less beneficial.
Yep, that's you, but that's you.
That's me.
But they came to you,
Okay.
so they're probably supposed to hear that. If God's saying that to them through you, then that's what they're supposed to hear. But if you're on a campaign to debunk all the people who talk about God,
I'm on a campaign.
that would be an error. But if you're telling your highest truth, what could be wrong with telling your highest truth? And that's God telling its highest truth to that person, and
I think the key is to remember that I'm in the middle ground, and
your consciousness level is.
The consciousness level is in that middle ground,
Mm-hmm.
and ultimately, like Abraham talks about, you go up a level at a time. You don't jump from here to here necessarily.
Nope. Hardly ever.
Hardly ever.
Hardly ever. Little tiny, my experience has always been little tiny clicks. And often I don't even know what the click was about. But sometimes I'm listening to Joel and there's an aha. And I don't know what the aha was about even. But the consciousness just deepens, you can feel it. And little tiny clicks getting deeper. As Ken Lazdowski told us in Phoenix a month ago, the reason you're not at the next step is you're not ready for it. That God is preparing you. That everything you're going through right now is making you ready for the next great truth. Here are the quotes around that. The next great truth will be delivered to you when you've been properly prepared and it can be accepted. And that's the process. And step one of that is get them to a meeting. Step one in getting to where the next great truth can be revealed is get them to a meeting. And simple stuff. Get them to a meeting. Get them a sponsor. Very material looking stuff, but not just as sacred as it can possibly be. God revealing itself.
Thank you.
Hi, guys, it's Patty.
Hi, Patty. Yay.
Hi. So, listening to all this, and it's reminding me how challenging sometimes I find my work being a therapist in a clinical setting.
Twice as challenging and twice the opportunity, or 4 times as challenging,
Exactly.
4 times the opportunity of everybody else. You're right in the middle of it.
Exactly.
You're right in the middle of it.
Yeah, I have to really be on. I have to really do my work before I go to work every day.
That's right.
It's sucking in so quickly.
Yep.
And the thing that I am struggling with is I'm catching it a lot more quickly and going within. Like say for example, I'm at like a meeting with my coworkers and someone's talking about, like the other day, someone was talking about human trafficking, and there's just endless things that come up,
Yep.
and I find myself getting sucked into it, and then I'll catch myself and I'll just go within and remember the truth.
Yep.
But what I'm finding is that my kids feel guilty because you kind of stand out when you're not,
Yep.
going along with all of the victimhood and, all these other tough things. And so then, I really have to work with my kid because she feels, guilty and not compassionate. And I'm in a field that's supposed to be compassionate, so I have to look compassionate, And I just find that challenging. That's where I am right now.
Yep. And it's hard work, and you work with the kid.
Yeah.
You work with the kid, and the benefit that can come out of this is to wean the kid from guilt. Because guilt is the very low level of consciousness that needs to be corrected. And here's a kid who believes it could possibly be guilty of something. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
And that's the work.
It's coming up for me a lot lately in a lot of different areas, so I figure it must be time to address it.
Must be your work.
Yeah.
It is not possible that any kid can ever be guilty of anything. Okay? Take that statement. It's not possible that your kid is guilty of anything. So take that and take that into yourself and take it into your kid and do the work and tear up guilt. Guilt is never correct.
Okay.
Ignorance.
Yeah, and
Kid may be ignorant, but not guilty. Not her fault. She hadn't been taught better, and it's not even ignorance. It's not her fault. She hasn't been taught better yet.
And I know exactly where it's coming from. It's some old stuff that I need to write her about. But
right.
I'm just glad that I work alone when I'm working with someone and no one can hear me. Because I could probably be fired in a second.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you that most people that come to see me stay with me for a really long time, and it's pretty cool the stuff that I see.
I don't doubt that at all.
So it's fun, It's, when I'm in the right frame of mind, it's fun.
And being brought to you as distinct from your other co-workers for exactly the right reasons. I mean, those are your patients.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yep. It's all working. It's all working perfectly. Is what I'm saying.
Yeah, and the more I let go of this idea of helping, I see it shifting too.
Uh-huh.
So, thank you for that.
Cool. Yeah. It's so amazing to, talk with therapists who have tools other than fixing tools. And they're rare, and there are some people who need those therapists. Need them as therapists. So there's definitely a job slot for you.
You said wean the kid from guilt. Do you also wean the kid from like shame and judgment and blame and complaining and
all of those? Yeah,
all of it.
All of those. Bring light to them all. None of them are.
Bring light to them all.
If a kid can't be guilty, it can't be ashamed. And judgment is higher. If you look at go look at that Hawkins scale. Shame and guilt are right at the very bottom. I mean, that's the killer, and that's the soul killer. So that's where to start, but the others are higher, but yeah, and they will learn them, but you can certainly educate them out of those, you know. The thing about judgment is you can't judge them without judging yourself. And how does that feel? You know? And that's the kicker there, you know, that you'll stop judgment when you discover that everything you're judging about them, you're judging in yourself, and it feels like shit. And that's when judgment drops. But all of them need to go. I mean, there's absolutely no basis for any of these things, you know. Love doesn't come in until 400, or maybe it's 500. We're out of time. What fun. What a great bunch. We've got a small enough class that we can really do some work, and I'm so grateful for all of you. Let's just be quiet for a second and let that soak in what we've got. Thank you all, and love you all, and see you next week, I hope. And all you people who live locally that are at home coming in on the phone, come here next week. Love you all. Bye.
Bye.